Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Happy Saturday night. My name is Matt Morris. We are live right now on Rumble as well as on YouTube. Folks, we have one hell of a show. Ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not, but earlier today, in fact, just 2.5, maybe 3 hours ago, our Director of National Intelligence, her name is Tulsi Gabbard, pretty much just shut down an ongoing and really emergent fake news narrative that is being pushed. It is explicitly designed, this entire narrative, to pull the United States of America into a direct kinetic war, a conflict with Russia. So we have an entire expose. Tulsi Gabbard has shattered this entire narrative, putting it to rest. We're going to take a look at that. Also, just a couple hours ago, the Trump administration has tightened the noose, so to speak, figuratively speaking, around Maduro's regime down in Venezuela. We have big updates coming out of Venezuela today as well. And so, folks, today, I think we should really just get into the show. Really, let's just cut to the chase. Now, ladies and gentlemen, really to kick this off, let me kind of break down for you what this emergent narrative is that Tulsi Gabbard had to directly get involved, intervene, and set the record straight. So, starting earlier this morning, we started seeing numerous reports. Breaking news, U.S. intelligence is warning that Vladimir Putin, intends to seize all of Ukraine. He wants all of Ukraine, and he wants part of Europe that were formerly at one point under Soviet control. And we're seeing all the different news outlets report this. U.S. intelligence, keyword, U.S. intelligence is now reporting that Putin intends to seize all of Ukraine and reclaim parts of Europe that were once under Soviet control. And by the way, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. If you're tuning in, I appreciate it. Really does help a lot. Keep in mind, these reports are coming out right now. President Trump and his administration, they are on the cusp of a brand new peace deal, ongoing negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. And so progress is being made. Perhaps we are on the cusp of peace. And then boom, earlier today, you see these reports. And the reports once again, actually, Putin, breaking news, Putin, he doesn't want peace. Putin actually wants all of Ukraine. And Putin wants half of Europe, just like the Soviet Union had. Well, okay, well, let's dig into this a little bit. All the reports say that the origin of this story is Reuters. So, you know what? Why don't we take a look at what Reuters originally had to say? This is the source. So, posted late last night, December 19th, this is the report from Reuters. The title of the article is, U.S. intelligence indicates Putin's war aims in Ukraine are unchanged. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to read what it says down here. The introduction to the article says, U.S. intelligence reports continue to warn that Russian President Vladimir Putin intends to capture all of Ukraine and reclaim parts of Europe that belonged to the former Soviet Empire. 6 individual sources familiar with U.S. intelligence have said, even as negotiators seek to end the war that would leave Russia with far less territory. The reports present a starkly different picture from that painted by President Trump and his Ukraine peace negotiators, who have said that Putin does want to end the conflict. The most recent of the reports dates from late September, according to one of the sources. The intelligence also contradicts Russian leaders Putin's denials that he is a threat to Europe. So this report coming out from Reuters is saying that they've got 6 individual anonymous U.S. intelligence sources that are attesting that Putin has no intent to de-escalate the war. Putin, in fact, doesn't want just a sliver of Ukraine. He doesn't want an end of the conflict. Actually, what he wants is all of Ukraine. He wants the war to keep going. In fact, he wants more. He wants Poland. He wants Estonia. He wants Lithuania. He wants Moldova. He wants the eastern half of Germany, just like in the good old USSR days. That's allegedly, that's what these six individual anonymous sources are saying. And then they're also painting this in direct contrast to what Trump is saying. They're saying Trump is saying that Putin does want an end to the war. The Trump administration says we're close to an end of the war. We have ongoing peace negotiations. We're on the cusp of de-escalating, etc. And so they're trying to sort of undermine, very obvious, they're trying to undermine these ongoing peace negotiations. Well, I think you can also, it's fair to say that this is almost like fear-mongering. This is a very scary narrative, right? Oh my God, Putin wants all of Ukraine and half of Europe? Oh my God, he's terrible. This is terrible. This is crazy. Well, as it would turn out, this is all crap. This is all bull crap. This entire report is complete bull crap. It's lies. It's propaganda. It is fear-mongering propaganda. How do we know that? How do we know that? Why do I say that? Well, Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, you guys know I love Tulsi Gabbard. I'm one of Tulsi Gabbard's biggest fans. She came out swinging today, I kid you not, less than 3 hours ago, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours ago. Tulsi Gabbard came out to officially correct the record. Now, normally, can I just show you something real quick? Tulsi Gabbard really doesn't talk a whole lot. She's too busy working. Tulsi Gabbard is so busy working every day, and she does. She works her butt off. She doesn't really talk to the media a whole lot. In fact, if you scroll through her Twitter feed, she's posting on Twitter like maybe once or twice a month, okay? She is just the silent type. She's busy at work. A guy like me, I post on Twitter 5 times a day. She does it twice a month. Well, she broke her silence today in order to make this post, to set the record straight. This is what she had to say less than 3 hours ago. Deep state warmongers and their propaganda media are again trying to undermine President Trump's efforts to bring peace to Ukraine. Boom. Bombshell. She goes on to say, and indeed Europe, by falsely claiming that the U.S., quote, U.S. intelligence community agrees to and supports the EU and NATO viewpoint that Russia's aim is to invade and conquer Europe. So Tulsi Gabbard, she's drawing a contrast between American intelligence and EU/NATO intelligence. She's saying here that the EU and NATO intelligence is asserting that Russia wants to conquer the entire continent. They want to invade all of Europe. Keep that in mind. She goes on to say, you know what? Let me rewind here. By falsely claiming that the U.S. intelligence community agrees to and supports the EU-NATO viewpoint that Russia's aim is to invade and conquer Europe, in parentheses, in order to gin up support for their pro-war policies. Listen to this. The truth is that U.S. intelligence assesses that Russia does not even have the capability to conquer and occupy Ukraine, what to speak of invading and occupying Europe. So what she's saying is, actually, hey, listen, folks, hey, Reuters, hey, EU, hey, NATO, Tulsi Gabbard here, I'm the director of national intelligence. Nobody has any more information than Tulsi Gabbard. Here I am, excuse me. We actually, the U.S. intelligence, we don't even think that Russia has the capacity to conquer all of Europe, to conquer all of Ukraine, let alone all of Europe. Even if Russia wanted to, they couldn't do it. They can't even manage to do it in Ukraine. Not that they even want all of Ukraine. And so Tulsi Gabbard came on out here and just completely debunked and dismantled this entire narrative. And why? Why is this narrative spreading? As she says, deep state warmongers and their propaganda media are trying to undermine President Trump's efforts to bring peace to Ukraine and indeed Europe. President Trump is close. Listen, I'll tell you something. The fact that this propaganda is coming out, you're having Reuters articles and all the mainstream media outlets are reporting on this. Tulsi Gabbard has to take it upon herself to come on out here and correct the record and set the record straight. You know what that means? It means that Trump is getting close. Listen, they're not firing at you unless you're flying overhead. Trump is flying overhead right now. Close to what? What am I talking about? I'm talking Trump is on the cusp of a peace deal. And somebody is not happy about it. Russia seems to want a peace deal. The Trump administration seems to want a peace deal. Maybe certain entities in Ukraine do want a peace deal. Maybe others don't. It seems as if the European Union, it seems as if NATO, it seems as if they actually don't want a peace deal. And I'm not saying that totally unsubstantiated. I have some more information that I promise you folks have not heard that I'm going to share with you in about 5 minutes here. Europe, the European Union, and NATO, they don't want a peace deal. And I'm going to back that up here in a minute. Believe me. Now, as I was getting ready to go live with today's broadcast, there was a breaking emergent event here. Tulsi Gabbard actually stepped onto the stage like 20 minutes ago at America Fest, hosted by TPUSA. Tulsi Gabbard stepped up on stage and she actually spoke about this exact dynamic. I had today's broadcast planned out, ready to go. And then Tulsi Gabbard, she came out and spoke about it, adding some more information. So thank God for that. It's all timing up. Take a listen to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say 20 minutes ago.
But what I've seen over these months is that every time they make progress and they move closer and closer to that hope for peace, the warmongers in the deep state step up and try to do everything they can to stop them.
Wow.
Predictably, they use the same old tactics that they've always used. The deep state within the intelligence community weaponizes intelligence to try to undermine progress. They leak it to their friends in the mainstream propaganda media to try to spread this and push a false narrative.
And that is exactly what has just happened today with Reuters, and all the other mainstream outlets have picked up on this. Oh my God, Putin, he has no intentions of peace. Putin actually wants to conquer all of Europe. According to DNI Tulsi Gabbard, he couldn't even do it if he wanted. Not that he does want it, but even if he did, he couldn't even do it. He can barely even do it with Ukraine. It's not going to happen. This is This is baloney.
They foment fear and hysteria as a way to justify the continuing of the war and their efforts to undermine President Trump's efforts towards peace, and do so specifically in this case in order to try to pull the U.S. military into a direct conflict with Russia, which is ultimately what the EU and NATO want.
Wow. That right there, the EU and NATO want the United States to be pulled into a direct conflict with Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She has the most intelligence of anybody. That's her job. That's her thing. That's her wheelhouse. She is saying our allies, our strategic allies, Europe, European Union, and NATO, they are doing everything they can to pull the United States into a direct, kinetic military conflict with Russia. That is insane to hear. That is crazy. I mean, I'm not that she's crazy. I believe her. I think she's right. She is right about that. And I have another little story I want to share with you. She is right. I'll show you why here in a minute. This is nuts. This is a very concerning situation. Do you agree? This is incredibly concerning.
We cannot allow this to happen. We have to see clearly what's happening before our very eyes and stand united in this cause of peace.
Yeah. This is absolutely insane, folks. What she just said here, this is something that they're going to be writing about in history books. People are going to be reading about this 50 years from now. The day that Tulsi Gabbard got up at the TPUSA America Fest 2025 stage on December 20th, which is my birthday. It's my birthday, by the way. I turned 32 years old today. And Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, says our allies, supposed allies, the European Union and NATO are doing every single thing they can to pull the United States of America into a direct conflict with Russia. Listen, I know you guys get mad at me sometimes. I say scorched earth and bombshell too much. That is a bombshell. You can't even deny that one, okay? Inarguably, that is a bombshell. That's insane. Happy birthday. Thank you, by the way. Thank you very much. Now, you know what? Maybe there's some of you that are sitting on the sidelines here, tuning into the live broadcast on Rumble. Shout out Rumble, all the Rumble viewers and all the YouTube viewers. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Maybe some of you are like, well, Matt Morse, I don't believe you. I don't believe Tulsi Gabbard, Matt Morse. I don't believe you. I don't believe that NATO and the European Union are actually doing this. Matt Morse and Tulsi Gabbard, I don't believe you. It's baloney. Well, let's transition on to another article. This came out probably 4 days ago. This is reported by the Economic Times. I want to read this. I want to read this to you now. Listen, pay attention, because if you're not upset already, then give me about 2 minutes here and you will be. As reported by the Economic Times, 4 or 5 days ago, the title of the article is called, "Is Europe Ready to Pull the Trigger? Officials Whisper About Dumping U.S. Treasuries If Trump Cuts Ukraine Deal." Peace deal. Let's read the introduction here. Europe-U.S. debt sell-off. European governments are quietly debating an extraordinary economic countermeasure as fears grow that U.S. President Donald Trump may strike a deal with Russia that sidelines Ukraine and threatens European continental security. According to internal assessments shared within Europe, officials are considering a drastic response. What is that response? Well, take a listen. Dumping vast holdings of U.S. government debt to destabilize the American economy if Washington abandons its commitments to Ukraine. So the article goes on to say, I've extracted some keynotes. I really want to give you guys all the details here. Right now, to get some more information on the table here, what's going on? The European Union and the United Kingdom, the UK is technically not a part of the EU anymore after Brexit, but they're still close allies. The European Union and the United Kingdom are considering dumping collectively $2.34 trillion worth of U.S. treasuries if the U.S. doesn't continue supporting the Ukrainian war effort. If the European Union and the United Kingdom were to do this, dump over $2 trillion worth of U.S. debt treasuries that they own, the U.S. dollar would collapse by 30%, the U.S. stock market would drop by 40%, and the United States economy would be plunged into a debt crisis similar to what we saw in 2008. So what this means is that effectively, and I'm not making this up, you just saw, as reported by the Economic Times, effectively, somebody in the chat says, sounds like extortion. That's exactly what this is. Effectively, the European Union and the United Kingdom are trying to extort President Trump and the United States of America into funding and supporting, continuing to fund and continuing to support the ongoing war in Ukraine, as well as funding for and paying for Europe's continental security, which we've been doing now for like 30 years following the collapse of the Soviet Union. And so literally this is the deal. This is the extortion. This is the ultimatum that the European Union has now given to our President Trump, given to our country. Listen, America. Listen, President Trump. United States of America and President Trump. If you don't continue spending hundreds of billions of dollars to prolong the war in Ukraine, Ukraine's war effort against Russia, and if you don't continue subsidizing and paying for Europe's continental security, then we are going to do everything in our power to crash and destabilize the U.S. economy. So make your choice. Those are your two options. Total United States economic implosion, or you continue subsidizing the Ukrainian war and Europe's continental defense. It's your choice. And by the way, don't you dare strike a peace deal with Russia and try to de-escalate out of this war. Don't you even think about it, America. Donald Trump, don't you even think about striking up a peace deal and bringing this war to an end. Because if you do, we're similarly going to crash your economy. And so, like, I have brought the receipts. I am not making this up. You can go read the articles. I've read you the introductions. This is what is going on. We hear this from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. The United States intelligence apparatus, we have the most advanced, comprehensive, all-knowing intelligence apparatus on the face of the planet. Number two is maybe Mossad. The United Kingdom has a pretty robust intelligence apparatus also. The United States is number one. And Tulsi Gabbard, who is the head honcho of the United States intelligence apparatus, she is saying this is fear-mongering propaganda to try to bait and ensnare the United States into an all-out direct military kinetic, like boots-on-the-ground conflict with Russia. And if we don't get involved, then the European Union is going to try to crash the U.S. economy. So that is where things currently stand. Now, I have to say, God bless Tulsi Gabbard. God bless Tulsi Gabbard for coming out and raising awareness about this. If I might, can I go ahead and play this clip one more time? Because this clip came out right as I was going live with the broadcast. I've only seen this once for the first time with you. I want to play this one more time because this is a very powerful clip. Let it play one more time.
But what I've seen over these months is that every time they make progress and they move closer and closer to that hope for peace, the warmongers in the deep state step up and try to do everything they can to stop them. Predictably, they use the same old tactics that they've always used. The deep state within the intelligence community weaponizes intelligence to try to undermine progress. They leak it to their friends in the mainstream propaganda media to try to spread this and push a false narrative.
Does that seem like something they would do? Is there perhaps historical precedent? We are getting lied to. The American people are lied to in order to draw us, in order to bait us into getting involved in a foreign war. Has that ever happened throughout American history, maybe even recent American history? Does that sound familiar? Has that ever happened? I don't know. Really makes you think, right?
They foment fear and hysteria as a way to justify the continuing of the war and their efforts to undermine President Trump's efforts towards peace, and do so specifically in this case in order to try to pull the U.S. military into a direct conflict with Russia, which is ultimately what the EU and NATO want.
Replay that. Right. Listen, I'm telling you, if Tulsi Gabbard didn't already have enemies, after this speech that she gave just like a half hour, this is fresh, half hour ago, she said this. If she didn't already have enemies, now she does. Play that one more time.
Towards peace, and do so specifically in this case in order to try to pull the U.S. military into a direct conflict with Russia, which is ultimately what the EU and NATO want.
Wow.
We cannot allow this to happen.
Wow.
We have to see clearly what's happening before our very eyes and stand united in this cause of peace.
I actually, I'm having difficulty expressing how important it is that she just said that. I'm actually a little bit caught off guard because, like I said, I did not play this clip before just now watching with you folks here live. That took balls. That is a massive statement that she just made. That took balls to the man. Listen, I'll tell you what. Tulsi Gabbard has balls so big that the Democrats are going to try to put her in the Olympics. Okay, I'm telling you, this is nuts. That is crazy. And so that is where things currently stand with this propaganda campaign to try to get the United States directly involved in a war against Russia. Very clearly, there was a concerted, elongated agenda to get America directly involved, to not only continue funding the war, to not only subvert and sabotage all of the peace deals, all the peace negotiations, but what's more, to get America directly involved, boots on the ground, Americans fighting Russians. That is what they want. And Tulsi Gabbard is not having it. Thank God. God bless Tulsi Gabbard. You know what I love about Tulsi is that she doesn't spend a whole lot of time talking or yapping or going on media tours. She just works. She just shows up every day. She works. And when she has the results, she brings them forth. She puts them down. She says, American people, here are the results. Enjoy. Read through them at your leisure. And me, I'm going back to work. This woman is just a powerhouse. She is the unsung hero of the Trump administration. And really, she does deserve more credit than she gets. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have another story that is sort of unfolding. Really, it unfolded a couple hours ago, 2, 3, 4 hours ago. And this story pertains to what is going on down in Venezuela. As I said during the intro of today's broadcast, the Trump administration is slowly, every single day, tightening the noose, so to speak, around the Maduro regime. Every single day, the walls are closing in. And what that looks like today, we have a statement from Secretary of DHS, Kristi Noem. She says, in a pre-dawn action early this morning on December 20th, the U.S. Coast Guard, with the support of the Department of War, apprehended an oil tanker that was last docked at Venezuela. This is oil tanker number 2 times now. The United States will continue to pursue the illicit movements of sanctioned oil that is used to fund narco-terrorism in the region. We will find you. We will stop you. Thanks to our brave men and women at the USCG and the Department of War. Now, with this seizure, with this oil tanker seizure, they have actually released almost an 8-minute long video. And so we're going to do something special today. There's actually a comprehensive article breaking down the current, it's a pretty good article, breaking down where things are at right now with the Venezuelan dynamic. So here's what I'm going to do. I had a crazy idea. I'm going to actually put this video up on the big screen. I'm going to give you a comprehensive rundown of where everything is at as it pertains to Venezuela. And you guys can watch this video footage, and it's pretty cool. So let me read through this, and we've got some nice B-roll footage here. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. has seized a vessel in international waters about 4 hours ago off the coast of Venezuela. U.S. officials have told BBC News and their news partners at CBS. This is the second time this month that the United States has seized a ship off of the country's coast. The move comes after U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he was ordering a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. And a blockade it is. This is the second tanker that has been seized. Venezuela has not yet responded to this latest seizure, but has previously accused Washington of seeking to steal its oil resources, which is totally comical because, as you all know, we've gone over this in the past. In 2007, Venezuela did what? They seized like 10 to 15 billion dollars worth of oil assets, oil infrastructure that American energy companies built in Venezuela in the early 2000s and 1990s. So Venezuela, they are guilty of stealing our oil infrastructure. And now we're seizing their sanctioned black market oil tankers, and they're saying, hey, you're stealing our oil. Really? Really? Really, you're just sort of getting your comeuppance, is what's happening, Venezuela. The article goes on to say, the operation was led by the U.S. Coast Guard, similar to the operation earlier this month. The ship was boarded by a specialist tactical team, which is what you are watching right now on the big screen. In recent weeks, the U.S. has been building up its military presence in the Caribbean Sea and has carried out deadly strikes on, the article says, alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats. Alleged, I think we know that they are, in fact, drug smuggling boats, killing around 100 people. So, folks, a little bit of a recap here. Yeah, it's true. Over the last 2.5, 3 months, the Department of War, under Hegseth and Trump's leadership, there have been 23 individual strikes, at a minimum, 23 strikes on Venezuelan narcotic boats, blowing up all the boats, killing, at a minimum, 100 Venezuelan narco trafficking terrorists. Yes or no in the live chat? Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? Personally, I am going to say, yes. That's my humble opinion. The Monroe Doctrine is back, baby. Now, the article goes on to say, the U.S. has provided no public evidence that these vessels were carrying drugs, and the military has come under increasing scrutiny from Congress over these strikes. No evidence, huh? No evidence really that these vessels are carrying drugs other than the like dozens of photos, maybe like 50 photos now of these narco smuggling boats with five motors off the back and giant barrels and drums. These are not humble fishing boats. We've all seen the photos. We've all seen the videos. No evidence. They release a video every single time and tons of photos, high definition, satellite drone imagery. We got it all. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Venezuela, which is home to the world's largest proven oil reserves, is highly dependent on revenues from its oil export to finance its government spending. And when we say finance Venezuela's government spending, we are really talking about financing narco-terrorism. Let's just set the record straight about that. Trump's announcement of a blockade came less than a week after the U.S. seized an oil tanker believed to be part of a ghost fleet off of the coast of Venezuela, which allegedly used various strategies to conceal its work. So, folks, right now I am reading an article from the BBC. These left-wing news outlets, they are just so shameless. Allegedly, there's no proof. We really don't know. Dude, shut up. Listen, maybe that's my mistake. I'm reading a BBC article here, but this is ridiculous. President Trump has provided no proof. There's no evidence. This is incredibly controversial in Congress. I saw a survey the other day that said actually 75% of Americans nationwide, 75% of Americans, that's Republicans as well as Democrats, that's Americans collectively, are in favor of blowing up these narco boats. 75%. This is not exactly super controversial. It's not. The White House said the vessel in question today, the one you're looking at right now, called the Skipper, had been involved in illicit oil shipping and would be taken to a U.S. port. Venezuela's government decried the move, with Maduro saying that the U.S. is quote, kidnapping and stealing the ship and the oil. That is what happened, Maduro. We did steal the ship. We did take the oil, and it's going to continue happening until you capitulate to President Trump's demands. It's maybe 3 weeks ago now, Trump said, listen, Maduro, we're not looking to drop a bomb on your head, but we are giving you an ultimatum here. You need to leave the country. You need to relinquish control of Venezuela. You are an illegitimate dictatorial leader. You're complicit in all types of terrible crimes, peddling narcotics, deadly narcotics into the United States, ultimately killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, rigging elections through this Smartmatic system. We've broken that entire dynamic down numerous times on this broadcast. So listen, Maduro, you got to go. You got to go. And he hasn't. He has refused to capitulate. And so now, like I said, President Trump is sort of tightening the noose, so to speak. Maduro says that the U.S. is kidnapping the oil. Yeah, and it's going to continue. Listen, the seizure of Ghost Fleet oil tankers will continue, and the drone bombing of narco trafficking boats will continue until the narco terrorism comes to an end. And until then, it's just going to keep on ramping up. That seems to be the way that it goes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I want to go ahead and take a look at some super chats here. So while this video plays, let me go ahead and pull up our super chats. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in today. What a great day. It's a lovely Saturday night. Like I said, it's my birthday today. So I can't be here too long because I need to go spend some time with the family. But we've got time for super chats here. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. Okay, I'm going to pause this footage. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to see what you lovely folks in the audience have to say about everything that's man, there's a lot of super chats. Okay. First off, folks, we have a super chat from Randy on YouTube. And Randy says, happy birthday. Here's some beer money. Hey, thank you very much. I will go buy a pack of Stella. That's my favorite beer. Thank you very much, Randy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This is from, hey, I appreciate that. Happy Saturday night. Richard Waring says, wonder if they can sue the news for this crap. Listen, all of these left-wing outlets, we're talking about Reuters spreading this fake news bullcrap propaganda, war with Russia, fear-mongering story. What they have discovered, these left-wing outlets, as long as they say anonymous sources, then they don't have to prove anything. They just make it up. They can make it up. Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Matt Morris News Agency, we are hearing that Barack Obama, from anonymous sources, we are hearing that Barack Obama and Joe Biden are gay homosexual lovers. And you can't hold me accountable for saying that because anonymous sources, it's like a little loophole. They have discovered a loophole, and the loophole is anonymous sources. So it's tough. It's tough. Listen, we're living in the fake news era, the era of fake news, the lying media, which is why, I mean, you might have noticed, what are we doing here right now? It's a bunch of like-minded individuals, free thinkers on Rumble and on YouTube right now. A lot of us, I think we have sort of collectively rejected the mainstream media. Here we are. We're all engaging with the alternative media. That's what we are right now. This is the alternative media ecosystem. And the reason why the alternative media has blown up so much over the last 10 years is because these days the alternative media is more trustworthy than the mainstream media. So, you know, I guess things have a way of sorting themselves out, I suppose. Thank you, Richard. Martin D. Turner says the MIC will say and do anything to keep the war machine gravy train going. By the way, Peter Zeihan believes the same, said about... You know, I've seen, not for a couple months, but I'm aware of Peter Zeihan. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff he's had to say. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of people are making a lot of money. And the problem is a lot of people are dying. A lot of people are losing their life. What is it? Somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 young individuals, civilians, combatants, both on the Ukraine and on the Russian side of the equation are dying every single week because of this ongoing conflict. And you got to give credit to President Trump. President Trump is doing everything he can to bring this war to its conclusion. And there are a lot of very sinister, dark, evil, demonic, dare I say, satanic forces that do not want him to be successful in ending that war. They want the bloodshed. They're totally happy with the bloodshed as long as they are making money. That is what is going on. Thank you, Martin. Nate Branch says, you're awesome, Matt. Keep up the good work. Mr. Nate Branch, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Happy Saturday. Derek Graham with the $20 super chat. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Happy Saturday evening. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Saturn Dreaming of Mercury says the EU is worried about its own fracturing. The Brussels protests, it's therefore looking to deflect. God, what did I've read a report the other day that said 85% of people living in Brussels are not native to Belgium. They're non-native. 85% living in Brussels. And you kind of see a similar trajectory here all across Europe. I mean, this is totally tangential, but take a look at London. Go to Paris. Go to Frankfurt. Go to Berlin. Go to Stockholm. Go to Malmo. Right. And it's like, yeah, Europe is not really Europe anymore. So it's getting bad. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, Saturn Dreaming of Mercury. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Brandy McMahon. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Mrs. McMahon. Very cute baby in your profile picture says we need to leave NATO, in my opinion. I think a lot of people in the United States are starting to feel that way, especially people here on the right side of the aisle. Trumpers, America Firsters. Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to say, wait a minute, this whole NATO relationship that we have, how exactly is this beneficial for us? I think in a lot of ways, NATO probably should have been dissolved. I mean, listen, a little bit of a history lesson. Why was NATO created? Where did NATO come from? NATO was created explicitly as an anti-USSR, anti-Soviet defense bloc, right? So kind of makes sense to me. I'm young, maybe I'm wrong. Makes sense to me that whenever the Soviet Union crumbled apart, 1992, 1993, this time frame, NATO probably should have been dissolved. around the time that the Soviet Union collapsed. But we have kept it going for another 30 years, and it's costing America a lot of money. And it seems like it's now starting to cause some problems also, according to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. No longer is it just sort of a black pit here, but it's also starting to cause us problems and potentially drag us into a war with Russia, which we don't want. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Julia Hartley Bards, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can I tell you something? You guys are not going to believe this. My birthday lunch, I went with my wife and my mother-in-law, our kids. We went to Cracker Barrel, I kid you not, for birthday lunch today. And I'm walking in Cracker Barrel, and there were a bunch of elderly folks. It was packed. The place was packed. Walk in there, and I kid you not, there was an old woman. She was sitting, her husband was sitting across the table. This woman, she had a tablet in front of her, like an iPad or whatever. She was watching my YouTube video today, the one I uploaded today. This woman at Cracker Barrel while eating her food. I kid you not. She was just a nice, cute-looking 75-year-old woman or so. She was watching my YouTube video, and I didn't say anything. I said, no way. I couldn't believe it. I looked over her shoulder as I'm walking into my table. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, funny story, small world. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Julia, Nate Branch says, happy birthday, Matt. God bless. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Gerald, thank you, Nate. Gerald Armstrong says, if they dump the treasuries, you take Greenland. I'll tell you what. Listen, man, I'm just like some guy with a microphone and a webcam, so what the hell do I know? If the United Kingdom and the European Union actually dump, like in a vindictive way, and they are, no, you know what? I was going to say, if they dump those treasuries, that's an act of war. That's what I was going to say. But you know what? I'm going to actually ramp that up a notch. If they are actually legitimately issuing these threats or ultimatums, it's not just hearsay. If this conversation has happened, hey, Donald Trump, European Union here, if you pull out support or if you bring this war to a close, we are dumping our treasuries. If they actually have said that, if they have actually made that offer or given that ultimatum, is that an act of war? That's pretty transgressive. That's a big effing problem. Okay, maybe not an act of war, but that is a big effing problem. If they have actually given Trump that ultimatum, we need to really rethink this dynamic that we have with the European Union and NATO. Some big changes need to be made here. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Gerald, Mr. Armstrong. Ajax says, we are Europeans, Europe's security. Yeah. I mean, listen, for God knows how long, we have been really entirely subsidizing the European continental defense budget. You know, you look back at Europe for a long time, they have all of these socially funded welfare programs and healthcare, and everything is great. They're living in fantasy land. It's perfect. It's peaceful. It's awesome. And it's like, well, hold up, listen. And then also, you know, they have all these programs, and then also they've been historically looking down on America. Oh my goodness, America is such a backwater. America is so, you know, stupid that everybody's fat and they don't have health care and they're killing each other. Listen, Europe, let's just correct the record here. The only reason you have been able to have a lot of the luxuries that you have had for the last couple decades is because America, we have been funding your continental security. It's pretty easy to have a bunch of nice luxuries when your country doesn't have to have a military or worry about any sort of continental or national defense. It's pretty easy to have a bunch of nice luxuries here if America is paying for everything for you. Okay, so I don't want to hear it. I love Europeans. I do love Europeans. I'm just not a big fan of the European Union. And I also have some big, reservations about our membership in NATO. I think we all kind of feel the same way. In fact, I can make a joke. I love Europeans so much, I married one. You guys know my wife is German, so I don't hate Europeans. I don't, but listen, this whole NATO EU dynamic, it's a little bit suspect here. Sergeant Grandma, thank you, Sergeant Grandma. I appreciate that. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Also Phoenix Griffin, maybe. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great day. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It only happens once a year. Thank you very much. 32 years old. I'm getting old. Older every single day. Saturn Dreaming of Mercury says, we would be at war with the EU then. Yeah, if they're making these threats, yeah. Enos Husky says, EU needs infinite tariffs. You know, I will say this. I have faith in President Trump to appropriately handle all of these dynamics. You know what? I really do think that if we had anyone else in the White House right now, and when I say anyone else, I mean like Republican or Democrat. Trump is an anomaly here. If anyone else is in the White House, they would, you know, get pressured into getting the U.S. involved in a war in Eastern Europe. Republican or Democrat. Trump is the one person that's able to say, no, we're not doing that. But I really believe, you know, if we pretty much had any other leader in this White House right now, they would have taken the bait. They would have blindly walked into this trap. And it is a trap that's been set. So thank God that's not happening. You got to have faith here. Meg Mono, 3 super chats in a row. Says, my parents always give our family the amount off our birthday years. So I've tried to send $32, but I'm unable to. So I'm splitting it, maybe shy a penny. There you go. Listen, add it up. That's a very cute thought. That's a very nice thought. I appreciate that. It's a very wholesome thought. That's a nice idea too. So the older you are, the more money you make. That's a nice idea. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Meg Mono, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have Arlo Ponders here, says, no, I want to double back. That's a very nice thought. Thank you. That's a very nice thought. Arlo Ponders says, Google search, quote, the Centuries tanker. Chow, I will look that up in my free time, and maybe I'll bring that on to another show. Okay, how about that? Thank you very much. Noted. The Centuries tanker. I'll look that up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, what a day. I have to say, can I just double back here and give some more appreciation to Tulsi Gabbard and also Meg Mono? Tulsi Gabbard, man, one hell of a DNI. You know, I don't even necessarily think that Tulsi Gabbard should ever be president. Like, maybe she wouldn't be a good president. I like, as much as I like Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think she should be president. I just want her to be director of national intelligence for like forever. Let's just, you know, for example, if JD Vance gets in the White House and we have President Vance for 8 years in a hypothetical, you know who I want to be JD Vance's director of national intelligence? Tulsi Gabbard for 8 years. I think she is perfect in the position that she's in. She was built to be director of national intelligence. Keep her there. I hope she stays there. She's absolutely freaking killing it. She is right where I think she needs to be, and she is knocking it out of the park time and time again. Like I said, listen, you got some other, I'm not going to name names here. I'm not throwing shade here, but, you know, you've got some other members of the administration. They do like, you can tell they like the media. They like the attention there. Seems like 5 times a week they're on Fox News or they're doing media tours or whatever. They're typing up a storm on Twitter, giving their opinion on everything. And you also notice that the ones that talk the most, they tend to kind of get the least amount of work done. Right. And then you look at Tulsi Gabbard. She's like a ghost. Right. It's like you almost forget she exists. It's like, Tulsi Gabbard, where's Tulsi Gabbard? And then once every 3 months, once every 2 months, she pops up with some bombshell report. And it's like, oh, yeah. Tulsi Gabbard has been cooking something up. She's been in the back room absolutely cooking. And she did that today. She did the same thing with the Obama stuff where she proved that Obama and his intelligence community, they fabricated the entire Russia collusion thing in 2016 and 2017. This woman, all she does is cook, and then she brings out the meal, and then she goes back in the kitchen and does it again. So I like Tulsi Gabbard. Everybody, I want to say, well, you know what? Hold up. We have a couple more I was going to wrap it up. We've got a couple more super chats. We've got a super chat here from Anonymous Nobody. Says, happy birthday. God bless you and your family. Anonymous Nobody. Thank you very much, Mr. Nobody. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And maybe final super chat of the day here. He says, this is from Kerry. He says, I spent 35 years in Europe. Sorry about that. I left 2 years ago. They're renaming street names in Turkish. You can go to areas and don't even recognize Germany anymore. That's why I left. God bless Texas. I have seen firsthand. Anybody that has been in Europe recently, you are 100% right. Absolutely right. And in Europe, they've got a similar problem where immigrants, they're not there to assimilate and become productive members of society. They are there to take over and displace actual Germans or Swedes or whatever country they're in. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you very much. We have 5 gifted memberships from C. Morris. Thank you for the 5. Those gifted memberships are big because every time somebody gets a gifted membership, they don't have to watch ads on YouTube, that is. So that's a big one. Okay, final super chat of the day says, how close do you think we are with the French Revolution? Listen, you guys might call me stupid. You call me a dreamer, idealistic. I don't know. You call me whatever you want. I believe that now that Trump is back in the White House and the Trump administration it's not perfect. There are problems. In fact, I was just talking about that a minute ago, but I think for the first time in a very long time, this country is back on the right path. It's going to take a long time, more than 4 years. It might take 8 or 12 or 16 years, maybe even more, to really get this country to where it needs to be. But what I see right now is that this country, at a minimum, is back on the track it needs to be on. Now we are going in the right direction. Now the question is, can we keep on the right track? Can we maintain this trajectory? And then also, can we speed up the rate at which we are progressing down that proper path? How fast can we do it? We got to stay on, and we got to pick up the speed. But I really do think things are getting better. So that's the final super chat of the day. I want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to wrap up tonight's broadcast and go spend some time with my family. I will see you folks tomorrow. Have another video and another live broadcast for you lovely ladies and gentlemen tomorrow. So make sure to like and subscribe and check out the news feed tomorrow for that. Until then, everybody, God bless and stay safe. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, and I'll see you folks.